Okay, great. Thanks so much, Megan. Can everyone hear me and see my screen at the same time? Okay, wonderful. Thanks, like Megan said, thanks everybody for tuning in. I have the pleasure of kicking this session off, but I am by no means the star of the show. It is really my job to just set the stage for the real stars of the show who will be walking on stage in 10 minutes or so. But my name is Jordan. I'm a partnerships manager at a nonprofit organization called Project Invent. I'm going to give a brief introduction to what Project Invent does, what we believe, and how very proud we are of the students on this call today. And then I'll hand it over to them and to their coach slash teacher slash hero, Maria Aguilar, to walk us through their invention journey. So the students will tell you about how they aligned on a problem that they were passionate about solving, how they explored various solutions to that problem. I can assure you that these students had dozens and dozens of ideas, but had to choose one to build. So they'll talk to you about how they made that decision, then share a bit about how they engaged with their user. A huge part of the Project Invent program is working with real users in the community, and you'll see how these students incorporated user feedback directly into the prototype that they currently hold in their hands today. And then they'll reveal that prototype to you. So we're doing a bit of a suspense build, but we promise the students have, I think Sam's got the prototype in front of him today, and we definitely have a demo video for you all to see. So we'll be able to show that off at the end, and then the students will be able to talk about what they hope that this prototype, which is right now a great idea and a prototype and a vision, becomes over the next few months and years. Okay, so, and like Megan said, please shout out to us in the chat or raise your hand if you have any questions or comments along the way. So to start off, I just want to set a little bit of context about what Project Invent is and what our students do every year. We are a nonprofit organization that believes in empowering high school students through invention. And there's a lot of different ways that students in high school engage in STEM and STEAM and computer science and coding and robotics. And we focus really specifically on design thinking and invention. The reason being, I don't think the students are going to show it today, but invention is really hard. And these students have accomplished something that's really difficult. There are surprises along the way. There are moments of frustration. There are unexpected things that come up. And we've found that this invention process builds a sense of resilience, agency, confidence, creativity, a lot of really important skills in high school students that they'll hopefully be able to carry with them as they move beyond high school to their next journey. And so that's why we believe really strongly in the power of invention and in empowering high school students to become problem solvers. The unique part of Project Invent is that all of our students work directly with members of their communities. So there are a lot of ways that invention education can be approached. It might be a design challenge, it might be a competition, it might be a quick 2-hour brainstorm. In our case, students work with a user who we call a community partner throughout the course of about 9 months. So students are encouraged to think about what matters to them, what matters to the people in their community, and how might they be able to play a role in improving conditions, whether that's for an individual member of their community or a larger group. So the students on the call today will talk to you about how they went through that process, how they thought about what kind of community issue they wanted to work on, and how they found someone to partner with them. So we believe really strongly in building not just relationships between students and community members that are very user designer focused, but to actually build connections that result in teaming and having community members feel as if they are a part of these students' teams and classrooms and learning journeys. We just skipped way ahead. Okay. Here's a quick glance at what students go through throughout the course of a Project Invent school year. So we do operate on a school year timeline. The beginning of the year is the design thinking phase. I think of it as the heart phase because we ask our students to really use their hearts, their minds, their empathy to understand a problem that maybe they were previously totally unfamiliar with. To interview users, interview real people, conduct research, think really deeply about how a solution might have implications that they can or cannot predict, And that process takes many months. So for about 2 or 3 months, students are just thinking really carefully about their role in their community, their role within the context of a specific community challenge, and then brainstorming ideas for how they might make a positive impact in that area. Once all of that brainstorming takes place, that's when the engineering, that's when students pick up tools and start building a prototype. All of that starts to happen. Still though, the community partners are a huge part of this process. So as students are building, they're collecting feedback from their users, collecting feedback on a prototype, finding additional users if needed, all leading up to our celebration at the end of the year, which is really an opportunity for students to show off the work that they've completed throughout the course of the school year, and we call that Demo Day. So here's some photos from a Demo Day event a couple years ago when Demo Day was in person. You can see this is really a chance for students to get up on stage and say, I built this, I'm ready to impact the world in a positive way, and here's how you can help, when they're speaking to audiences and judges from around the country. In recent years, Demo Day has unfortunately had to move virtual, but we've still had the same sort of experience for students. As you can see in the upper left-hand corner, we've got designers, engineers, entrepreneurs, investors on the line, ready to hear students' ideas, give them feedback, and some students do actually win funding to pursue their projects as entrepreneurial ventures. And that is the case for the students on the phone with us today. So some students decide that they want to expand their impact and continue learning about how to build a business model and how to turn a prototype into something bigger. And I think you'll hear about those dreams from our students from Sacramento today. Did you all lose my screen? I'm sorry.
We still have your screen, but you're frozen, but we can still hear you.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Here are a couple of examples of inventions that have been presented at Demo Day in the past. The invention built by our students on the phone today is not on the screen because, like I said, we want you to have that reveal moment later today, but I'll just highlight a couple of examples here. In the bottom left-hand corner, this one is a really timely and relevant invention that was presented last May. It was actually built by some of our students in Mumbai, India, and they knew a middle school aged girl in their neighborhood who was having trouble keeping up at school because her internet bandwidth was low and resulted in her connection to her teacher being cut out throughout the course of a class. So the students invented what they call the learning box, which is a tool that downloads lessons for a student and allows the student to rewind, replay, review parts of a lesson that he or she may have missed. And it also has a voicemail feature. So if a student has a question or wants to interact with their teacher, they can upload a voicemail to the learning box and their teacher will receive it. And then in return, they can receive voicemails back from their teacher. So it allows that sort of interaction that would happen in a live classroom happen just on a bit of a delay. Another example, in the bottom right-hand corner, a couple of years ago, we had a student team invent this headband for football coaches to pack with them whenever they go to practice or a game. And if they see one of their players involved in a serious impact, they can put this headband on that player's forehead and immediately detect whether or not there are any signs of concussion. So you can see students are addressing big problems across an array of topics and issues all across the country, a lot of them really personal to the communities that they live in. I want to end on this slide, and then I promise I'll hand it over to our teachers and students. Our vision at Project Invent is to build a generation of fearless problem solvers. I just wanted to put this slide up because I hope you'll see today the students who are about to present their invention are fearless problem solvers. They are inventors, innovators, entrepreneurs, and we are so proud of the work that they've done and can't wait to see where it goes. So we are really excited to have this opportunity today to see this vision in action. I should mention Project Invent provides opportunities like Demo Day and support, and we have an invention curriculum, but the magic is really made by the teachers who support our students throughout the course of a school year. So we call them Project Invent Fellows, and we have a Project Invent Fellow on with us today. Her name is Maria Aguilar, and she led the team of students you'll hear from in just a moment on their invention journey and continues to support them as they consider their roles as entrepreneurs. So she's going to introduce this project and this team, and really grateful to you, Maria, for being here today.
Good afternoon. It's really an honor to be invited to this prestigious event. It is indeed one of a kind experience, not just for me, but also most especially to my students. My name is Maria Aguilar, and I am a chemistry teacher and a technology teacher at C.K. McClatchy High School in Sacramento, California. I am also a Project Invent mentor to high school students from other SCUSD high schools. Today, my team, Team Wink, will share with you their journey in designing and inventing for social good. Their years of tinkering since middle school has led them to participating in Project Invent. Team Wink is composed of 8 students who have engaged in various science, math, engineering, and endeavors. Since they were my students in the middle school, some of them have even started with this since they were in elementary school, participating in first Lego League before. They have designed various devices with their participation in MESA, which is Math, Engineering, Science Achievement. In various capacities, the students have made gliders, machine ball launchers, and prosthetic arms. Through the same events sponsored by MESA, like National Engineering and Design Competition, and of course our participation in Project Invent, I have mentored the students to bring their designing and making experience to the next level, in the hope that their work is going to support their interests and prepare them for college and more other opportunities along the way. And of course, more importantly, to make a bigger impact in the society. These students have created prototypes for the past 4 to 5 years, such as Arduino-enabled white cane for the blind, Arduino-enabled water level device for bathtubs, Arduino-enabled soil moisture device, also Arduino-enabled hay cover, and recently our participation in Project Invent has led us to an educational tool for visually impaired students in Sacramento. My team is very eager to share their story to you and the progress of their educational tool as we venture in our year 2 in Project Invent through Project Accelerate. Our appreciation to their ever supportive parents, to other SCUSD high school teachers, principals, and to Project Invent for giving us the opportunity to be inventors. Today, my students will guide you through their problem identification and design thinking process. And later, we'll graciously ask for your participation in 2 brainstorming activities along the way. Please be generous with your ideas and share them in the chat when prompted by one of our students. Toward the conclusion of this program, we will reveal the working prototype and plans for the future. Now, I am pleased to present to you my students. Sam, Caitlin, and Anthony are from West Campus High School. Mysam is from Met High School. And from John F. Kennedy High School, Jorge, Alex, Sean, and Chris. Thank you in advance for being present today with us.
So we were asked to identify places in our community which piqued our interests, such as libraries, parks, nursing homes, and so forth. We narrowed it down to 3 locations as shown on the map, where we could improve or find a problem to solve. These 3 locations were the Bell Coolidge Library, which is close to where we all live, the ACC Care Center, which is a senior nursing home, and Leonardo da Vinci, which is a neighboring elementary school. We had to narrow down the possibilities to at least 1 location where we could help make an improvement. Caitlin, one of our team members, was able to email the library and schedule a meeting with some of the staff members who informed us of some of the issues they were experiencing during the pandemic. I emailed the ACC Care Center and asked if we could meet with them, but we were unable to reach them. Sam had a family friend who was friends with a teacher for the visually impaired at Leonardo da Vinci. He contacted her and asked if we could interview her and get to know her better in order to brainstorm solutions to help her and her students during the pandemic.
Yeah, so when we started looking for a community in which we can make the greatest impact, the two main groups that we were looking at were the libraries and the visually impaired. And so we started to do some research on them. The libraries, their current solutions have been like giving books through calls, online, and in these packages. And they were also giving out CDs and ebooks through these online services as well. And their difficulties at the time were more so contacting and staying connected with their local communities. And as such, they wanted an app or a website in order to help with communication and stay connected with them. The visually impaired, their difficulties were more so on the reliance on family and friends and for daily activities moving around. And then the visually impaired students were also facing difficulties trying to learn without the physical items for reinforcements of the different lessons and things that are being taught. So between these two groups, we ended up deciding to choose the visually impaired. The libraries, they were having solutions that were being used and developed, and the things that they needed were kind of out of our scope, with them being more software-based, such as the app and the website, while we were more so focused on hardware and wiring. And so the visually impaired, they were facing difficulties with no real solution available besides the help of others. So we felt that not only was their current difficulties more dire at the time, but our skills and abilities also fit the problem better. So once we chose a group, we got into an interview with Ms. Haines, and she mentioned the problems that we were researching, such as the daily activities with cooking, chores, moving around the house, difficulties of having to rely on others, and the difficulties that the students were having, such as the needing of others to learn, and the need of physical objects to help learn or reinforce ideas, which was an issue when COVID hit, when a lot of these were no longer available. So after this feedback, we brainstormed and came up with the idea of a tool to teach Braille due to its effect for daily life, allowing for comprehensions of signs and instructions, as well as aiding with communication. And in response to this, Ms. Haines responded with that a Braille tool could be fun for young students and that it would be great for use at home and could support the current curriculum.
So one of the tools provided by Project Invent is the How Might We prompt. This prompt helps us identify our user, their needs, and a practical reason to help them. So this is our final version of our How Might We prompt is, how might we help young visually impaired students learn Braille so as to improve their learning experience?
Now we would like to ask the audience, how might we help young visually impaired students independently learn Braille so as to improve their learning experience? There are many solutions to this question, so we would like to invite the audience to put your ideas in the chat, and then Alex will read your ideas from the chat.
Don't be shy. We'd like to hear from you.
Thank you, for graciously sharing your ideas. Among the few suggestions include from Leah would be finding ways to partner with their families. Another one from Megan, add in an audio component. A third one from Carol, is Braille books from alphabets to stories. Alexa shared making the learning experience to a fun game that friends and family can partake in. Moving on. Creating some from Leah again, creating something that is hands-on and fun. Christine says incorporate tactile learning like Braille and other types of learning or art making. Michelle says games to involve siblings. That will be all the feedback or suggestions of viewing. You might be curious to how we approach this problem. Caitlin will continue to walk us through brainstorming solutions.
So here are a few of the ideas we initially brainstormed. And the first one is a device that will give the user audio cues to alert them of nearby obstacles and dangers to help them navigate the world around them. Another one is a device that helps the visually impaired perform daily tasks, and also a device that recognizes objects and gives an audio response to teach young students what these objects are. And while brainstorming ideas, the main intention of our project was to help teachers for the visually impaired teach Braille easier to younger students. So a few of our key considerations we had during the brainstorming process, including that our product should be durable enough for children to play with and should be kid-friendly. We also want our product to be able to use multiple times and not wear out too quickly. And our product is meant to be used for younger audiences, so it shouldn't be able to be swallowed or broken into smaller pieces. Another consideration that is a must, especially for our product's targeted users, are sound cues. Sound cues allow for our users to receive useful feedback on what Braille cell they're reading. And most educational products for Braille are very costly right now, so we want to be able to make it affordable for everyone. Most conventional ways of learning Braille aren't meant for younger students, so this was our main reason for creating our prototype, because there was a gap in the market for educational tools for young visually impaired children.
And our final idea was Braille blocks. Braille blocks are the equivalent of alphabet blocks, but they have Braille on the sides of the block for the students to feel. The second part, which we didn't prototype originally, is a mat that can read the blocks out to students using RFID technology and a speaker. Each block also has a small English letter of its Braille one, as you can see on the bottom right hand corner of the blocks, so that students who are going blind and parents can use this to learn Braille easier with their children. For our first prototype, we 3D printed out a few letters without RFID tags in them and gave them to the students we were working with to see if they liked the design of the blocks. We also made a styrofoam mat so they could see how the blocks fit into it.
After we printed out our original blocks and the mat, we gave them to 3 testers, Mrs. Haines and 2 of our older students, Charles Turner and Patricia Figueroa. In addition, we also made a questionnaire for information regarding the current products they use and how it can improve on ours. The first page of which can be seen on the left. We asked questions such as, what was your first impression of the block? And how can we make our product better? As well as other questions seen on the right. We will go into feedback received on the next slide. Now, on to the feedback, starting first with Ms. Haines. The most valuable feedback received from her was her idea of including Braille in its actual size in the corner, which was later implemented. In addition, she said, I absolutely love the size of the blocks. I can imagine using this regularly throughout my teaching career and using it with young children in the classroom. This seems to be a fabulous in-between type product, which should engage a child with a nice sized block and be fun but also educational. It allows the child to explore the pattern of Braille, show solid understanding of early Braille literacy, fine motor development, critical thinking, and engaging play. Next, move on to the feedback from our students, the first of which is Charles Turner, a picture of whom can be seen in the middle of this slide. The most valuable feedback we received from him was the idea of shrinking the blocks that are easy to read. Ms. Haines and Patricia both said the size was perfect. The block was later scaled down to the fact that we were going to aim our product at young children. Among the feedback received from Charles was, I like the raised dots in the line at the bottom, so you knew how to place it. I've never seen anything like this. The blocks have been very helpful when I was just learning how to read and spell. Now it's Mrs. Haines' other student, Patricia Figueroa, who can be seen in the bottom left corner of the slide. Although none of her specific feedback prompted to change the block's design, she did have a suggestion of doing languages besides English, such as Spanish, which will be most likely done in the future. The other feedback received from her was, I like the concept of it and it makes a very fun way to learn Braille. I believe it would be perfect for young kids to get exposed to and learn Braille. And now on to Sam.
All right. So now that you've heard all the feedback that we got, we wanted to get your ideas on what you would do to improve our prototype and better serve our users' needs. So again, if you could put your ideas in chat and Alex will read some of them out.
Any ideas on how we might improve these ideas, or is it our product right now? Would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you once again for sharing your ideas. Among the improvements suggested for our initial prototype based on feedback received are the following. One is bilingual Braille blocks as such. From Jordan, Carol suggested adding a audio component. Alexa suggests other languages to offer. Megan suggests that we should maybe create blocks in a variety of sizes, bigger for smaller hands. Now, Sean will continue to share with you how we've improved the prototypes and incorporate our partners' feedback, and maybe you'll find your suggestion to have been some of our considerations as well.
All right, here's some pictures of the newly designed Braille blocks. You can see there are a bunch of changes, and we'll go over all the changes on the next slide. So here's a comparison of all the changes we made between our first prototype and our most recent one. The original blocks were a 2-inch cube, but after being told they were too big, we shrunk them down to a 1.5-inch cube. We also added a bar to show right side up, since many of the letters look similar upside down to other letters. Another piece of feedback we got is that it would be nice to put regulation size Braille on the blocks, so we did that as well. The final made to the blocks changed the bottom face of them to a larger letter, both to add support, but also to allow the parent to tell what the student was learning and to help students going blind learn the letters easier. And now Sam will talk about the technological components of the newly designed blocks.
Yeah, so to go with the redesigned blocks, we added new features to the prototype. So after you turn it on, the block can be placed in the indentation and the letter of the block will be said aloud. This is so students can start to figure out how each letter is represented in Braille and start to learn it. If multiple letters are placed back to back, then the student can press the talk button and the previous letters will be said again. This is so that students can start to learn words and how to spell them. And to accomplish this, we placed RFID chips in the bottom of the block to store the letter of the block. We also used a scanner to read the chips and paired it with an Arduino, SD card reader, and speaker to allow the letters to be said. Now we have a short video that will show you how some users could use the device. The first step in using our device is turning it on. After this, you can place any block on the indentation, and the device will say it aloud. Following this, you can press the button in the center to spell the word that you created.
So moving on, we're going to be talking about the future of Braille blocks. So we're currently in our year 2 Project Invent Accelerate program. And Accelerate is a one-to-one mentorship program that matches industry professionals to Project Invent teams, and they help us bring our inventions from working prototypes to the hands of real users. And some of the ways the Project Invent helps us is through workshops. There are 4 mandatory workshops, which include prototype reevaluation, advanced prototyping, preparing for launch, and end-of-year celebration. They also include 4 optional workshops. So our industry professional that we matched up with is Matt Weiss. He's the managing director of IDEO CoLab, and he's passionate about building new ventures and applying design to emerging technologies. He's a business designer by discipline and enjoys tackling system-level design challenges such as how we'll create the future of food, wellness, or financial health.
During our first meeting with Matt, he recommended that we explore the idea of inclusive packaging. Here are the design principles we intend to follow to make sure our product is inclusive. We want our product to be equitable to allow everyone to have the same experience. Flexible, our product should be able to allow right-handed or left-handed users to use our product without discomfort. Intuitive, packaging should be easy to understand for all ages. Perceptible, packaging should be able to communicate necessary information effectively and easily. Tolerant, packaging should be able to stand up to rough conditions and keep the product safe. Ergonomic, users must not exert abnormal strength to open the package to be in an uncomfortable position. Finally, the product packaging must be desirable. We want the packaging to attract attention, whether it is in a retail store or an online store.
So this is the future roadmap of Braille blocks. Currently, we're prototyping our version 2. After that, we'll be conducting user research through Facebook groups for parents of visually impaired students. After that, we'll be conducting our final changes to our product before moving on to funding through grants, donations, and sponsors. After that, we'll be doing our manufacturing, and through that, we'll be going to product marketing and building our online store. And finally, product launch. So this is our business model canvas, and it has a lot of information on it. So we're going to focus on 2 areas: value propositions and customer segments. So for value propositions, we have assist young visually impaired students independently learn Braille to improve their learning experience. Our second value proposition is for parents: assist parents of young visually impaired students by creating affordable educational toys for visually impaired. And the final value proposition is a description of our MVP. Braille blocks is a product for young visually impaired students consisting of 26 letters and a mat with audio response. So the next area is customer segments. Our first customer segment is parents of visually impaired students. Our second customer segment is schools with visually impaired students. And this is important to us since our community partner is a teacher teaching visually impaired students in schools and has expressed how well this product would do within a classroom environment. And our final customer segment is occupational and vision therapists. We've included them because there are a lot of students who might be newly visually impaired and need to learn Braille. So we want to include this customer segment. So now we'll be moving on to our Q&A section. And just like before, it would be lovely if everyone could post their questions in the chat so that Jorge could direct the questions to any one of us.
Thank you, Megan, for your question. What was the most challenging part of the process? I think Anthony can answer that.
For the most challenging part, I think there was a couple pretty large ones. One of the issues we had was trying to come up with an idea. It's like we were basically like brainstorming through some various designs, various ideas for it. And I guess the Braille blocks ended up being the one that we felt would make the most impact on the community we were trying to work for. And then besides that, we also had like a couple technological, I guess, issues. One of the main ones was trying to get the audio to work. There is basically some issues that we were having with a little bit of the technology and some with the code. Yeah, I think that was between those two were probably two of the more challenging parts.
Thank you, Michelle, for your question. Sean can answer.
The blocks were designed in an online CAD program called Tinkercad. That's basically what I did the entire year. And I also 3D printed them out. So they're 3D printed, designed on a computer, and then, wait, Sam, can you hold up one of the blocks? Yeah, so they're 3D printed blocks.
Okay. Thank you, Clark, for your question. He says, what do you estimate as its final cost for 26 letters and accessories? I think Sam can answer that.
We don't really have an estimate for final cost at this point, but our prototype to make costs, like with all 26 letters included, around $100 to $150. So targeting, I think, around there for final cost would be reasonable. But another idea we had is to sell only certain letters, not the whole alphabet. So like say if parents wanted their students to learn names first, they could buy those letters only. And so it wouldn't be as expensive.
Thank you, Leah, for your question. You may have mentioned this already, but is there any way you can combine letters onto a block so that one block has multiple uses? I think Chris can answer that.
Yeah, so our original plan was to do that. However, we found out how it reads the blocks through RFID tag, which not only is there enough room inside each block to fit many RFID tags, they would all read into each other. So we decided it'd be simple just to go with one block, one letter.
Thank you, Megan, for your question. What was it like working together as a team? Caitlin can answer.
Yeah, it was a really unique experience to work as a team during during COVID, and we had to go schedule meetings together. So we had different strengths as a team, like everyone. So Chris and Sean worked on the 3D part, and then Sam worked on the coding aspect with MySum, and then the rest of us worked on like documentation. So we all worked with our skills, and it managed to work out even during COVID.
Thank you, Katie, for your question. What was your favorite part of this process? Okay, I guess I can start. So my favorite part of this process was designing it based around the user's needs. It was really interesting to see the needs the specific needs that the users had, so we could make the product better. Alex can also answer this.
Some of my favorite processes were probably getting feedback from from Ms.Haines and her students, because it was nice to see that we were making an impact, obviously, and it was nice to get their feedback and learn how we can improve our block to help others. That's my favorite part.
Thank you, Megan, for your question. What did you do when you got stuck? Do you have any tips for other students going through a similar process? I think MySum can answer that.
Yeah, so when we usually got stuck, we bounced ideas off of each other. And if we couldn't figure it out, we usually went to an outside source, whether that be our mentor, our teacher, or any other community partners.
Thank you, Vaso, for your question. This is such incredible work. Could you talk a little about what surprised you working through the process? Did you find that you had to make any assumptions at the start? Sam can answer that question.
Yeah, so I think we definitely had to make a few assumptions going in, but it really helped to like actually talk with Ms.Haines and get her feedback on our ideas before we even made anything, and to get like the problems that she was going through on a daily basis. And so I think we did make some assumptions, but not too many. And then getting the feedback that first time, it was just really insightful, because like some things we had just not even considered, like actual sized Braille, which makes sense now that I say it, but we hadn't thought of that before. So.
For the final question, thank you. Well, thank you, Bill, for asking the question. Are you thinking about partners to work with to bring this great invention to lots of teachers, families, and users? Anthony can answer that.
Right now, we're kind of working with our mentor, Ms. Haines, to try to bring out the invention, and we're kind of using things such as Kickstarter to try and promote the product, and yeah, basically kind of reaching out the idea and spreading it as, I guess, spreading the message almost. Mason, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, during our funding stage, we're definitely going to reach out to organizations to partner, because we do want to get this out to as many schools and visually impaired students as possible.
Okay, I think that those are all the questions. Yeah, once again, thank you for the questions.
Huge round. Oh, we've got another question.
Okay, thank you, Karen, for your question. Is there anything you're going to change in your next prototype? Sean could probably answer that.
As of now, it's the blocks. I think we're probably going to keep those. The mat is currently what we're trying to rework. That's probably going to be our main focus this year, as well as all the other stuff with like patents, eating all that out. So just design-wise, just the mat probably. And we'd like to shrink it because it's really big and bulky right now.
Anything else in that design changes, Mason or Chris?
I think Sean pretty much covered it. We're trying to shrink the mat so it's more portable and durable, and possibly even waterproof.
I would like to just kick off a huge round of applause to these students who prepared this presentation, have been working on their journey towards multiple versions of their prototypes and getting this kickstarted, all in addition to their normal schoolwork. So I have seen with my own eyes these students on Google Slides at 10:30 p.m. on a school night, and we're just super proud of them and cannot wait to see where Smart Braille Blocks goes.
Well done.
And I think I heard a rumor that there might be a Smart Braille Blocks Instagram account coming soon for anyone who wants to keep up with the journey.
Mason, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we're actually started it yesterday, and I'm going to be posting our username in the chat.
So if you'd like to follow us and maybe connect us with some generous partners, we would like to appreciate that.
Alrighty, Megan, anything from Cooper Hewitt to wrap us?
That was so inspiring. What an amazing journey you've all taken us through, and how fun to get to kind of participate along and hear the feedback in real time. That was fantastic. And we're so honored that we got to share your amazing prototype at this early stage during National Design Month. So congratulations, and I can't wait to see where Braille Blocks goes. And I will definitely be following along on Instagram. And I'll say to our audience too, please, if you want to get more content like this, visit us at cooperhewitt.org/awards for more amazing programs and content in the design world. Congratulations, amazing. Yay.
Thank you.
I'm
very
going to
much.
close up the room. Maria, did you want to say anything?
I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. And again, we cannot fully express our appreciation for the great support of our partners, parents, and the resilience of the students who have worked with me they have been with me for 4 years. So I've seen them grow up. So, and I'm really looking forward to more connecting with them and connecting with you guys there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you out in the design world.
And our work is not done. I'll see you on Saturday. So we will meet at 2 o'clock. Bye.